the apostles, because of the fact that they were breaking forth out of the shell of the Jewish nation. The church was spreading, and the church's spreading needed to still be on one foundation, okay, as Ephesians put it, on the foundation of Christ and the apostles. So that sometimes people miss, like for instance, in Acts chapter 2 and verse 42, when it says, and they devoted themselves, that is the new believers, to the apostles' teaching and the fellowship, to the breaking of bread and the prayers. Then the next verse, I want you to notice, it talks about miracles, but it's very clear who saw, and many wonders and signs were being done through the apostles. It's very clear that these wonders and signs were being done not by everybody, but it was by the apostles. Again, if you go to chapter 4, and I begin reading from verse 32, you notice the distinguishing aspect there between everybody and the apostles. So it says here, now, verse 32, chapter 4 and verse 32. Now, the full number of those who believed were of one heart and soul, and no one said that any of the things that belonged to him was his own, but they had everything in common. Now, listen to the next verse. So, everybody in that verse, and then the next verse says, and with great power the apostles. So, it distinguishes. And mind you, at this point, you have...
The apostles were giving their testimony.
Yes.
To the resurrection of the Lord Jesus.
Yes, and then there was this power.
Great grace was upon them.
Yes. So, now, there were roughly by this time 5,000 believers. So, if the view was that anybody and everybody could do what these brethren were doing, imagine 5,000 miracle workers across Jerusalem. I mean, that's already an overkill, and it would have been there in the scriptures. But Dr. Luke, as he is narrating, he's speaking about everybody. Then suddenly when it comes to these miracles and signs and wonders, says the apostles. Okay. And that's correct, because as you go to, for instance, the book of Hebrews and chapter 2, you notice that it's basically the same approach with respect to it. For since the message declared by angels proved to be reliable, and every transgression or disobedience received a just retribution, how shall we escape if we neglect such a great salvation? And then listen to this. It was declared at first by the Lord, and it was attested to us by those who heard. So there were people who heard from the Lord and attest that witness.
You must pay attention.
Because it's not just been spoken, but it has also been attested to by these signs and wonders and so on. So really, the point we make is that the extraordinary gifts were for a certain season, gifts of tongues and so forth. They were extraordinary messages were coming through. Now, just one more point before we proceed, and it is this, that we are talking about the fact that the extraordinary gifts have ceased. The point is that it is also evidenced by reality.